We knew this storm was coming, not because of the weathermen, but because lightning struck at Globe Life Field last night. Hi there, and welcome into the DLLS Sports Studios. Welcome to the DLLS Rangers podcast. John Radigan here, Jeff Wilson there, Elijah Smith doing this thing primitively. It's not live, so we don't get to chat with you because of the weather here. But, Jeff, the biggest question, I think, is can lightning strike twice at Globe Life Field, or hopefully more than twice?
Yeah, you hope that they saw the blueprint. I mean, they've known what it is. They know what good baseball is, and they set these goals out during spring training. Hard to pitch to, bullies in the box, swing at your good pitches, pass the baton to the next guy, keep the line moving. Those sort of baseball cliches, if you will. And they did it last night. Now, the A's pitching wasn't great,
right?
So they took advantage of a guy who really was overmatched, and so that's good. But tonight it gets a little harder. I believe Severino is pitching for the A's, and he's pretty good and has been good at times this year. So momentum is only as good as the next day's starting pitcher. There's another big baseballism for you. So I don't know, but the Rangers, I think the last two games have done a better job not chasing pitches, not all of them, but some of them. The bats have been, it seems, a little longer, but I think that the biggest issue the Rangers have had is that pitchers aren't afraid to pitch to them right now.
No,
and so they can throw strikes, they can throw quality pitches, and they also know I don't have to throw these guys strikes because they're going to go ahead and chase it. So they have to be harder to pitch to. And I think last night, maybe they saw it. Maybe it was just a reminder. The hitters meeting that the Rangers had Monday, where they talked about the basics and talked about getting back to what it is that they do. Hopefully that was the results came last night. And Jonah Heim said something interesting.
Yes.
Jonah Heim had a nice game, 2 for 5, a walk. He scored 3 times. And I asked him about the meeting, and he said, it's just something that I felt like had to be brought back up, getting back to their approach and their standards, just with 1 month under our belts. Just kind of going back to what we want our identity to be. Obviously, you don't want to have those hard conversations, but sometimes you've just got to air it out. We're all growing up, so we know what needs to be done. Obviously, it hasn't been good enough. So it sounds like it was maybe a little contentious at times.
Sure.
Or maybe these guys who are the players and are supposed to listen to their coaches, maybe the coaches had some stern words for them, and I don't know. When I talked to Donnie Ecker about the meeting, he didn't describe it quite in those terms. He said is just resetting our goals and reminding the hitters and ourselves what it is we wanted to do in spring training and what we need to do. But, as he said in that story I wrote, the chase rate was abysmal. It was the worst in the major leagues. And the Rangers had drawn the second fewest walks in the major leagues. You're not going to win doing that. You cannot just hit. You have to have, he said, you have to have 7 200 hitters on the team if you want to win without walking. So there it is. It's laid out, and the Rangers know what they need to do. And last night might have been the start of something, but again, the next day's starting pitcher will have a lot to say about that.
He will indeed. Another nod to the weather. It's sort of an umbrella lead day because really on most days the lead story from that game would have been Jacob deGrom's first win in 2 years, over 2 years, and his best pitching performance since Tommy John. And we will get to that momentarily. First, a little bit more on the offense. And Jeff, 9 walks, right?
Yeah.
After Donnie was saying to you the day before, look, it's chase rate and it's walks. We can't have this terrible chase rate, and we got to have walks. And then to get a season high 9 walks in the game yesterday, and a couple in the first inning, right? I mean, that was progress. That had to make Boch and Donnie, for that matter, and really the players too, just feel like, okay, message landed, and it was received, and now it's being implemented.
Yeah, it was first inning, first 2 guys walked. Holy crap! What's going on here? And then Jonah bounced out, and Higashioka made an out. And so then another walk by Adolis Garcia or whoever. No, Simeon. Simeon was batting
Simeon.
Another guy who doesn't walk necessarily a ton. And then Josh Young comes up, bases loaded, 2 outs, and he swings at 3 pitches out of the strike zone and strikes out. So it kind of felt like, geez, here we go again, because in the second inning they made a little more noise with getting the first 2 guys on. Then Leote beats out that great bunt.
Yeah.
It was like a wedge shot. It went and then it backed
up. Yeah,
it was really good.
Yeah.
And then Adolis with the boneheaded running play, making the first out at home, and nothing happened that inning. And then you get to the third, more traffic, and you get to 2 outs again, and then it's a lefty on lefty matchup, but Josh Smith delivered, and so that was the first of 4 2-out RBI hits.
Right.
That was big. Those things have been missing. Those are backbreakers. 2-out RBI hits. Gut a pitcher. It just has a huge effect. And then they got a couple more. Jake Berger and Leote again. Leote hitting against left-handers, smoked the ball. So good things were happening. And then, of course, the 6th, they scored 8 times. But they did it by taking walks, not trying to do too much. The Rangers had, 18 hits?
Right.
I think 12 were singles.
Yeah.
And
that's one of the things they had talked about previously.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a double or a triple or a homer.
And when you're up with 2 outs, that's it. Marcus Semien said after the game, we would take all singles. I was like, well, okay. I didn't say this. I thought this. Well, you guys haven't been doing that.
Yeah, and not even singles. I mean,
it really might have opened some eyes and told some people, gosh, that's what it is. Like Berger's 2-out RBI hit. The ball was off the plate, yes, but he didn't try to pull it or do too much with it. He hit it to right field.
He went with it.
It was like really good hitting. So, again, it's the elements of a good offense, and the Rangers have the potential to be a great offense.
Right.
It's just they have to be of the same mindset, be in the same place, and you pull on the same rope.
Yeah, and essentially Monday they heard the reminder, right? Here's the reminder. Here's what we're trying to be as an offense. And then on Tuesday, they saw an example of the reminder, which reinforces exactly what Donnie Ecker and the rest of the coaches. And Donnie wasn't the only one in on that hitters meeting. Boch did not divulge who else was, but he said several of us were. So, it was sort of a all leaders on deck kind of a meeting, and whether or not it got contentious, we don't know. But based on Jonah Heim's comments, it sounds like maybe it did. Or maybe some guys took it the wrong way. Yesterday reinforces that message, which is fantastic. The interesting thing is, in the first basically couple of times through the order, 11 of 18 reach.
Yeah.
Okay. 11 of 18 reach in the first 2 times through the order. And I think at that point it was 3-0, maybe 4. I think it was 3.
Okay.
Are you kidding me? You've got to be more productive, right, than that. But when it got to 4, it was like, and I was watching on TV, David Murphy and Dave Raymond were like, okay, now they've got a big offense. Because again, 4 feels like an offensive explosion.
Absolutely.
And thank goodness. I mean, then they got off that 2 train. But thank goodness then they scored a lot more runs. It really helped. It was just sort of that, releasing of the water from the dam that this group really needed.
Halfway through, I was thinking, man, maybe they should save some of these runs. But you know what? Go out and get them. Make everybody feel good. And I tell you, when Kyle Higashioka got his double in the 8th inning, he was the only starter that hadn't had a hit. Everybody cheered for him.
Yeah,
it was a big deal. 8 guys had RBIs. Jonah was the only one who didn't have an RBI, but again, he scored 3 times. It was just complete. It was 1 through 9. The bottom of the order did some great things. Leote down there going 3 for 4, I think.
Yeah. 3 for his first 3 too.
And it's stuff like that made the offense so good in 23 early, and then in the playoffs again. Guys were just getting on base, passing the baton, setting up the top of the lineup by guys getting on from the bottom. So it's stuff we've talked about for a month now, John.
Yeah.
And it hasn't happened but twice. and really, you could argue in the 8-run game last week at Sacramento, there were 4 homers in that game.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, one of them was a 3-run homer, as I recall, that Simeon hit. But this is true. This was true. Get on.
Get over.
Trust,
get in.
Trust the next guy that he's going to do his job.
Yep.
And by gum, they did. So
and that's such a huge word, Jeff, and we haven't mentioned it a lot. Trust, right?
Yeah.
It's big for hitters to trust the guy in front of them and the guy that's coming up after them. And you're probably right. There gets to be a defeatist attitude mentally among these guys where, it's not like you as a hitter have done anything to, lose my trust, but based on the results I've seen, I can't trust that you're going to get a hit either. So now I'm putting a little more pressure on myself to make sure I get a hit, and that's never good either.
Yeah, and then you saw the Leote gaff on the bases. Maybe that's trying to create too much and do more than needs to be done, and maybe that comes from, man, I don't know if I should. I'm here at third base. How many times have we had a runner at third and not scored?
Right.
No outs.
Yeah.
Well, it happened Sunday, and Leote was and Adolis was a main culprit for it.
Yep.
It's just they need to know that they're good. And somebody asked Bruce Bochy yesterday. The question was, track record aside, what is it that makes you trust that these guys can do it? And Bruce Bochy said, well, track records is a huge part of it.
Sure.
It's the track record.
Yeah.
And, they're going to get Corey Seager back this weekend. He swung a bat yesterday, and they anticipate that he will be in the lineup at some point this weekend when he's eligible. Wyatt Langford, he was in the leadoff spot yesterday, but he got himself a double. He hit the ball well. Marcus Simeon hit the ball really, really well. Now, I wonder if tonight, if with Severino, the right-hander, going, if Jock Peterson will be back in the lineup, and if so, how that is going to get juggled. I would suspect, though, that Leote, based on his 3 hits, granted as a left-handed hitter, would be in the lineup just because Bruce Bochy, as we know, likes to ride the hot hand.
Sure, absolutely.
So maybe Higashioka sits, though Heim caught yesterday. So I'm not sure what they'll do, but heck, you know what? Maybe Jock Peterson sits.
Yeah.
Maybe Bruce Bochy says, I'm running out the same guys.
Sure.
I know it's a different guy throwing, but
it worked yesterday.
These guys did the job yesterday.
It's interesting to see Jonah in that 4 spot in the batting order and in the cleanup spot. And Boch has talked about it multiple times, including Monday when we talked to him, just how happy he is with the production, he says, of his catchers. And really, he's gotten a lot. I think Kyle had a little bit of a lull, but he's been hot lately. And with regard to him not being the last one to get the hit, Dave Raymond was asking David Murphy about that during the game last night, and Murph goes, man, there's always that one guy. In a game like this, there's always that one guy. And actually, I think Emily brought up the topic because she said, do you feel good for the team or bad for yourself? And David real honestly said, a little bit of both. But, you're supposed to feel good. We're winning big. Yeah. But you still feel kind of bad because, hey, I'm the only guy that can't figure this pitcher out. Everybody else is raking. So, anyway, Higashioka was not that guy yesterday. Nobody took an over. So,
Yeah, and again, they were all cheering for it. The guys in the dugout, the mainly the pitchers there, who are the railbirds at the top of the dugout.
Sure. Yeah.
They got a kick out of it, and I'm sure Kyle felt great. And what was a position player he hit it off of, I think.
Yeah,
but who
great.
cares?
Yeah, no,
A hit's
no.
a hit. You know, Ron Washington was once asked, what's your approach against a position player? When a position player comes in, he goes, "I better get mine. You better get he said, you better get yours." So, they count, man. They're hits.
They are. They still count as hits, and that's fantastic. The offense was fantastic yesterday. Let's see if they can continue that tonight. And also now we'll get to the other lead story of this game, which was Jacob deGrom. Really had a great outing last night. Nearly hit that 100-mile-per-hour mark that Jeff's been asking for. We talk about that and more as we continue with the DLLS Rangers podcast. But we start with LinkedIn, and I know how it goes. As a small business owner, I know, man, you are, right up against it. You have so much to do and so little time, it seems, in which to do it. So one of the things that becomes difficult is hiring people, and LinkedIn Jobs has the answer for you. LinkedIn Jobs is a place where you can go to get the finest candidates you can possibly imagine to fill any position that you might have. There's various levels of product there available, so you'll definitely want to go to LinkedIn Jobs and figure out which one is the best one for you. But through this advertisement and through hanging out with us on the DLLS Rangers podcast, you could get a free post. You could get your first job posted for free at linkedinjobs.com if you use the code Rangers.
And Sleeper is back and continues to support our show and continues to help support my family. If I'm being frank,
paying the bills.
Actually, I have not cashed out yet of my account, but I keep winning. I keep losing a little. It really is just a great app, and it makes sports so much more pleasurable to watch and follow. I wouldn't be watching any of these NBA playoff games if not for Sleeper, and I'm learning about the guys in the league and figuring out what they look like. And well, anyway, tonight I haven't made my baseball bets for today, but I guarantee you that I will take whatever the under is on Nathan Eovaldi walks. I will definitely go below. If it's 1.5, I will definitely go below 1.5. Anyway, download the app, DLS Rangers, and Sleeper will match up to $100 on your first deposit.
Fantastic. Jacob deGrom was way below 1.5 walks last night. 0 walks.
That was part of my winning Sleeper
last night, was it?
Plays last night.
And what was the number?
It was 1.5.
Okay, same, yeah.
It was an easy one.
Yeah. Yeah, he didn't walk anybody. He struck out 7. That fastball topped, I saw, Jeff, at 99.7. So that's beautiful. I think it was averaging 97 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And he said afterwards, and I know you chatted with him, that it's because of this mechanical thing that he's been working on.
Yeah, it's crazy, these guys, how much they work on it and experiment and tinker when they're not right. And Jacob found something yesterday, just throwing off a flat ground, and he said, boy, that really feels right. And sure enough, it was. And so the hope going forward is that he's able to repeat it, because he said last night was the first time he was able to command his fastball and put it where he wanted it. And he moved it. He had to move it around a lot because the A's came out swinging. They were ambushing him. It was he only threw 7 pitches in the first inning, I believe it was. But the A's had a base runner. He fell behind 3-1 to Soderstrom before getting him to bounce into a double play. So he made a pitch. So that means he's executing his pitches. And when the fastball's there, then the slider's there. The umpire gets a little strike happy and might give him a little bit more off the plate than normal. But, it's kind of crazy. I was thinking about this last night. Jacob deGrom's misses just aren't wild misses.
Nope.
it just seems like he's so close to the plate that sometimes I wonder if those guys are just guessing, or if they're like, gosh, I've called 6 in a row a strike. I'm mixing a ball. I don't know, but it was efficient. He could overpower A's hitters. There was one at bat against Shailene Lear's 3 heaters, swung and missed all 3 of them. But he also got some guys looking with sliders just perfectly placed. So his best performance, I believe, I feel comfortable saying that, only 65 pitches in 6 innings. He would have gone out for more had the Rangers not scored the 8 in the 6th. It was too long of a wait. And again, they are still aware that Jacob deGrom is coming off of Tommy John surgery and basically hasn't pitched in 2 years.
Right.
He also hadn't won in 2 years, more than 2 years by a few days. April 23rd, 2023 was his last MLB victory. It was against the A's. I know pitchers and the pitching win is not as important statistically as it used to be. And really, if you look at Jacob deGrom's career, he's been plagued by tremendous lack of run support. That was a big theme with the Mets. But you still want to win. He said,
Sure.
Yeah, you want to win. The team win's more important, but you want to win. So good for Jacob on many fronts.
It really was. It was really fun to see him do that, and that 65 pitches was just amazing. And in a way, it worked out perfectly, Jeff, for Boch and for Mike Maddox, and because they want to limit those innings. And the reality is, if the Rangers hadn't had that big, long bottom of the 6th inning, then there's almost no way they would have talked Jacob into sitting down at that point.
Yeah.
But they get to limit his pitches and his innings because there was a real good reason to do that, and of course he would understand that. And by that point, he was probably cold, like not even warmed up anymore. It took so long.
Well, at some point he's going to have to start on 4 days rest. It'll be on the next road trip. So they have the off day Monday. So you limit him here, give him the off day, so he'll get the extra day's rest. So he'll be pretty fresh when he goes into next week and has to make those starts on normal rest. Now there's the wild card of Kumar Rocker potentially getting dropped back into the rotation at some point to again give guys rest. They're in a pretty busy month with only 3 off days. Rocker threw yesterday, wasn't on a mound or anything, but he threw for the first time. Not sure he's going to make it back. Seems like they might want to be a little more cautious with that one, but whatever. At some point, though, they'll have 6 and then have to make a decision, but they're trying to take care of their guys when they can, and deGrom is their guy. I mean, I love Nathan Eovaldi, and Nathan Eovaldi's a bulldog and competes and is very, very good, but if both guys are right and healthy, Jacob deGrom is a better pitcher.
Oh, there's just no doubt. No, even at the age, of course, they're both somewhat advanced in age, but even you could compare him to young guys. I mean, I don't know, I don't know how young you go or how good you go, but there's not very many that you would say when he's at his best, even at this age, that is better than Jacob deGrom. And we'll be watching it all season long to see how that goes. It's funny too. You were thinking about the mechanics. You said last night. I thought about it on the way in today. I'm like, how does a guy know his body and know he does this same repeatable motion over and over again, and how does he notice the thing that is plaguing him there?
Yeah.
And then I got thinking about it, and literally, and I don't play golf every day. I only play once a month these days if I'm lucky. But the last time I was out playing golf, I recognized something. I'm like, oh, I'm not. Whatever it was. I can't even remember at the moment, but it clicked for me then. I'm like, oh, geez, don't forget about doing this. And then it clicked. So these guys do this every day. I can kind of get that. It's similar to, knowing your golf swing or knowing, something like that.
Well, again, starting pitchers, they throw every day.
Yeah.
They may not get on a mound every day, but they're not just sitting around waiting for their next turn. They're busy throwing, trying things, getting feedback from other pitchers, looking at old videos, and trying to get back to where they are when they're at their best. And you talk to a lot of guys about that. Patrick Corbin was big on that, and you Jack Leiter has talked about he's done that in the past, and it's crazy how they can get away from it, but then they see it. Maybe they do side by side things with videos and whatnot, and then they go out and try it, and it feels right and it works. And so if I practice golf every day, I'd be a lot better.
Sure, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I went out and hit 150 balls
Absolutely.
a day, I would know my swing,
Yeah.
and I can feel things in it still. I've played enough golf, but it's still just not the same thing. And Jacob had said, early on here, it's going to take some time, and I think he finally realized that during a start against the Mariners in spring training. He wasn't throwing hard because his mechanics were all out of whack. He gave up a home run, walked a couple guys, and I think that's where it kind of dawned on him, like, I need to give myself a little grace period here. Well, I think he's found it.
Yes.
I really think that going forward, Jacob is going to be in great shape. I just, if his mechanics are right, then it's just gonna get better and better.
Yeah, he was just dotting things yesterday, and he had, I think, after the Rangers had gotten it to 4-0, you mentioned the 7-pitch first inning. I think he had a 6-pitch inning, whatever half inning that was, right after they got it to 4. I was like, strikeout, ground ball out, fly out, done.
Yeah,
see ya.
Yeah. And if you're around the plate, the other team knows it. The other team knows they're going to have to swing. And if you throw your pitch and it's on the plate, whether if you're ahead in the count, they really have to swing. And then the plate gets a little bit bigger for them. They're like, all right, I'm down in the count, and he can go a little bit off, and they're going to have to go off to protect. So it's a beautiful formula. I mean, it's what every pitcher wants to do, but only an elite few can do it as well as Jacob. And honestly, there might not be anybody who does it as well as him.
No, that's the question. And that'll be and when you think of the candidates, you think of the Paul Skeens of the world and the Tarek Skubals of the world, right? These young guys who have youth, right? That sweet bird of youth on their side. But I don't think with the lack of experience that they can still do the things that Jacob deGrom can do. And he kind of can do still, it appears, what they can do with regard to that velo.
100%.
Yeah,
and
if he's still got 100, which he...
And it's crazy. It's just... If his mechanics are right, then the velo is going to come.
Yeah, it's just crazy. It's fun to watch. I'm sure Chris Young had fun watching that game last night and that performance last night. He's an aficionado and a former Major League pitcher himself. He's expressed frustration for a couple of weeks now about this offense, and that's not a surprise that Chris Young is frustrated, and it's also not a surprise that some of what happened with the hitters meeting and a few other things happened because Chris Young said, let's do this. We got to be better at this.
Yeah, he's a former player, so he carries a lot of weight. Now he is a pitcher, so maybe he doesn't carry as much weight with the hitters.
Yeah.
But he's also the one who signed him. He's also the one who controls whether they're on the not on the bench or not, but he has great influence with the manager. Bruce Bochy, no doubt, draws up the lineup. But Bruce Bochy is open-minded, listens to input from everybody. But, at some point changes could be made personnel-wise, and I think that it's been frustrating to watch Adolis Garcia the last couple of seasons. I think that's an area where the Rangers might be able to do something. We asked about Evan Carter yesterday. It's still a couple weeks away. He is playing better. He made a change to his swing that takes pressure off the lower back, and he's playing more regularly. I believe he played in 3 straight games on 3 straight days last week, which was something he hadn't done before. So they're still trying to figure it out. What's the right amount of work? Do you want Evan Carter up if he's not an everyday player? That's a question I think they have to consider. Do you consider 5 days a week regular enough? Maybe you do. and then you'll have options. You have a guy who could obviously play center field, and Leody Taveras can play right field. Dustin Harris can play right field. Kevin Pillar can play right field, though not right now because he's got some back tightness. But the point is, the Rangers are looking at their options, and it's hard to ignore some guys who are in the minor leagues just hitting the crap out of the ball. You know, Bruce Bochy mentioned Justin Foscue and Blaine Crim. He's like, you can't ignore what they're doing because it's been so good. Foscue's on the 40-man. He can play first base. Well, Jake Berger isn't hitting. Maybe something happens there.
Sure.
Blaine Crim, of course, he's not on the 40-man, but is a first baseman. And as we all know, I love Blaine Crim. I think he deserves a chance. His track record speaks for itself. He hits everywhere he's been in the minor leagues. You look at his minor league numbers, and you'd be like, why is this guy still in the minors? He just needs a chance.
Yeah, and the question, that statement has been sent. The statement suggesting if you guys don't get it done, we have guys at the minor league level that we're willing to try to take your position. So that doesn't often happen. It had to happen the way this offense was going. Hopefully it's the fire, the spark that needed to light this offensive fire. All right, we got more to talk about as we ponder some of the injured pitchers and when they will come back. A faux pas with the Golden Chicket, and where do the Rangers rank with regard to games against teams that are 500 or better? We've got all the answers and more as we continue with the DLLS Rangers podcast.
John, I tell you what, and folks who are watching or listening, we'll be honest. On our walk-in to the studio, our feet got wet.
Yep.
Really, really wet. I am currently sock and shoeless.
Yep.
John is down to his socks. And I tell you what, it's been a pleasure walking on these Empire Today floors that we have here.
Yeah.
I haven't stepped on anything. There's not a nail out of place. There's not a dead spot or a sticky spot or a spot that's coming up. These floors are fantastic because Empire Today. Oh, we got a foot.
Yep.
Because Empire Today is the leader in flooring, and it's all they do. All right, you don't have to go to a big box store and talk to the guy who just sold a construction guy a box of nails. You know, you are dealing with flooring experts, carpet, tile, whatever. They want you to do it from your house, so schedule a free in-home estimate today. I'll show my foot, and you will get $350 off when you use the code DLLS.
Yeah, I fear they may not believe us, Jeff, so there you go. Got the feet up. My socks are a little bit wet. Look at there's Jeff. Can't quite reach it, can you? Yeah.
There we go.
There we go.
Watch out, Corey.
But yeah. Anyway, there we go. And our favorite event of the weekend might be, and if the Rangers are winning, they'll for sure be our fave. But might be the Lone Star Smokeout, even if they do win.
Yeah.
That Lone Star Smokeout looks to be phenomenal. 14 barbecue competitors who are all trying to be the best. And we talked to Eric Nadel about this yesterday. He's done some of these barbecue competitions and really found some great places to get barbecue on the road in the future. So if you're interested in that, another reason to go to the Lone Star Smokeout, country music, frosty beverages, and early Cinco de Mayo. It's LoneStarSmokeout.com. So let us start with these injured pitchers, Jeff.
Okay.
I saw that somebody hit you up on Twitter about Cody.
Yeah.
And I see that he's throwing from 90 feet now.
Yeah. We talked to all of them yesterday.
Okay.
Well, except for Kumar. We talked to the guys who have been out an extended time. So we led off. We went John Gray, Josh Spores, Cody Bradford. But we'll start with Cody Bradford because you mentioned it. But the left-hander who's out with elbow inflammation, he is throwing at 90 feet. He said that one of the pieces of technology clocked him at 90 miles per hour just playing catch or throwing off a flat ground. He said in about 2 weeks he's going to start throwing off-speed pitches, his changeup and his slider and curveball, and then he will advance, if all goes well, to a mound, which he hopes happens in 3 weeks. And then from there, it will take him some time to build up, and he'll have to throw a series of bullpens and then a live batting practice or two, and then they'll send him out So it's not like his return is imminent. However, things are going very, very well. The same can be said for John Gray, who had X-ray. He hoped his final X-ray on his broken right wrist yesterday. He was not wearing any kind of support. He's been doing more stuff in the weight room. But if that X-ray came back clean, he hadn't heard yet, then he is going to start doing some throws, some wrist throws like that is how he demonstrated it. Do that for a few days, then advance to throwing. He said he feels great, that his body feels great. And he said that when he comes back, he's going to be throwing 100 miles per hour.
Nice.
That's what he said. But again, with him, it'll be a while. It'll be some of this stuff, and then he has to get stretched out playing catch, start spinning again, get on a mound. So I'm thinking middle July for these guys, All-Star break. And then Josh Spores in the same boat. He is going to throw a bullpen session, I believe, next week. He's still throwing at a very reduced velocity. He said he's only been clocked at 83.
Yeah.
But
instead of 14 and under team is interested in him right now. Yeah.
So but he feels great about how his shoulder feels. He said that he's talked to a lot of guys who's had the same stuff done, including Kumar Rocker, which was interesting because, the story coming into the 2022 draft that that there had been a procedure that came out and Scott Boras said, oh, it was just a cleanup. Well, Josh Spores, if it's just a cleanup, you're thinking, you're not going to miss that much time.
Right.
Okay. But, Josh Spores is probably going to end up missing 8 or 9 months post-surgery. So that kind of shed a light that I don't think Josh intended to shed, and that probably Mr. Boras wishes hadn't been shed.
Well, and it's
on the severity of Kumar's injury. But now Josh said it really was a cleanup. There's a bursa sac in there I think they took out, and they had to sew up some things that were torn. But nevertheless, I think anytime you deal with the shoulder, I think pitchers will tell you they would rather have an elbow injury than a shoulder injury.
Yeah, it's interesting, too, because, when I was looking at the reports from Josh Spores, I was like, God, I'm not even – what was this surgery again? And then, shoulder cleanup, and your first thought is, how can – and he's still saying worst-case scenario August 1st, right?
Right.
So I'm like, oh, my gosh, he had off-season surgery, and he might not get back until the final 2 months of the season. But to your point, shoulder cleanup is not – it's not just – and it really –
it's not like getting a knee scope.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's not like elbow scope where they pull a few loose particles out of your elbow and 2 weeks later you're fine,
right.
And that's sort of the kind of thing we're used to with a cleanup. But this cleanup procedure is obviously much more, invasive, clearly. I mean, it has to be
more like
the
a spring
invasiveness.
Cleaning than just a cleanup.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's pick up the house here for 10 minutes. That's a cleanup.
Yeah.
Let's throw stuff away and go through everybody's
clean
closets.
Out everything in the garage.
That feels more like what Josh and apparently Kumar might have had. So anyway, positive news there. So what do you do when they come back, right? You're going to have 3 guys who will, have to come off the 60-day injured list. So that'll create some issues on the 40-man. But what are you going to do with them all? And this it's worth wondering if at that point, whether he's throwing 100 miles per hour, especially if he's throwing 100 miles per hour, if John Gray doesn't finish the season as a reliever. Now, we are 2 or 3 months away from having to consider that, and you never know what's going to happen here in the next couple months with injuries and whatnot. But Cody Bradford has worked as a reliever, and Cody, he says that he is just here to do whatever the team wants him to do. Josh, of course, pitches leverage innings when he's right. So you're looking at really fortifying the bullpen, which, at this rate with all these close games, these guys who are pitching in the high leverage situations are going to need some help.
Sure.
You're going to need somebody who can somebody else who can give them an extra day off or something like that. So be interesting to see. Now, if everybody were to stay healthy and fresh and productive, it's going to be hard to get them out of the rotation.
It is, yeah, because I was thinking at first when you brought up the Gray versus Bradford, I'm like, well, Bradford's lefty, So I might take that. But then what's that? You already have one now. But it wouldn't hurt to have two lefties, I suppose. You could break up the righty, have one of the lefties go between all the right-handed pitchers.
I would think that, Patrick Corbin could probably move to the bullpen.
Also a candidate for that, absolutely.
But if Jack Leiter hops on back in there and is good, better than he was Sunday. I think he's going to pitch Friday. If he's good and continues to be good, you don't want to move him to the bullpen. You want to see that every 5 days. So, but also at that point of the year, starters will be tired too. So you could really be create a unique role for both Bradford and Gray.
Yeah. It's really exciting actually to think about. But you don't want to get ahead of yourself because we're still, like Jeff says, we're still looking at more than 2 months away, likely for certainly for John Gray and for Cody Bradford probably. So that's a good update and it's a positive update, and we're glad to hear that. The Rangers had this golden ticket promotion, which, to be honest with you, because we don't really buy tickets, I really wasn't paying that close of attention to. I saw that it was there, and I saw it advertised quite a bit, and I didn't really think about it much. I thought it was a very creative name and a play on the old, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Well, and then Golden Chick, one of the Rangers
Golden
sponsors.
Chick, a real nice play on words, all that. Appreciated it all. What I didn't realize is you go there, you buy a golden ticket, and then if the Rangers win the game where your ticket was, you get to go the next day.
Oh.
So they just send you tickets for the next day.
Nice.
So the first game, and then if they win the second day, more for the third day.
Oh my gosh.
And then if they win, so if the Rangers, get a 15-game win streak going,
you're seeing a lot of baseball.
Yeah, you're seeing a lot of baseball. So anyway, the first day of the golden ticket was Monday, and the Rangers lost.
They did.
And good on Golden Chick and good on the Rangers. They said, you know what? And they just sent it. They didn't announce it. They just sent tickets to everybody who was a part of that promotion for the Tuesday game. And guess what?
They won.
All those people are going tonight too. So I love the response to that. You want to do this promotion and you don't want it to fail. I mean, you want this to A, fill the seats, on a weeknight, and B, and there may be conditions. I don't know that it'll go 15 games, right? All of a sudden you're playing the Astros and people are like, where's my free ticket? They keep winning. But anyway, so I thought that was pretty interesting. And then we've got to get to this graphic, Prophet, about Jeff and I talked about this. Jeff brought it up on Monday. He did the math on the Rangers record with teams against 500. And he brought up every team they've played except the Angels was over 500. And look at there. The Mets off to a really good start. They've played 20 games against teams under 500. The Tigers off to a really good start. They've played 16 against teams that are under 500. The ones you worry about a little bit are teams that haven't done as well. Now, again, the Astros are coming around lately, but they've already played 15 games against teams that are under 500. And there the Rangers are almost dead last. The Cubs, according to this graphic, the Cubs have had the toughest schedule for the first month of the season in Major League Baseball. And the Rangers, the second most difficult schedule, having played only 3 games that are under 500.
Yeah, and you had sent the tweet over to the Prophet, and it had been a retweet by Connor Jeffers at writing for the Rangers, a friend of mine, and I looked at his comments, and people didn't get it. They're like, "Oh, it's just an excuse." Blah blah blah. It's not an excuse.
No excuse.
Okay, what do teams above 500 have? Really good pitching,
right?
Okay.
That's why they're above 500.
and so you can now, yes, the Rangers should beat teams with good pitchers. They should beat good pitchers. And they're
going to have to.
You have. That's something you have to do. But the fact of the matter is that it is significant. It is not something to be ignored because it makes a difference. Okay, look at the Reds are above 500. Okay, who was first on that list? The Mets, well
Mets.
above 500. The
Yep.
Red Sox are now above 500.
Okay.
So yes, the Guardians in that Central Division, you know, the Twins are actually below 500, but they're playing better thanks to their schedule. You know, you have the White Sox in that division. And then, you know, you kind of look at who the Mets have played. Well, I mean, the Marlins are in their division.
Right.
The Nationals are in their division. Nationals are better, but they're not going to be in the discussion for a playoff chase. You know, the Cubs, who have played 0 teams, they're actually winning their division. So that ought to tell you something about how good the Cubs are.
Yeah.
But
really
again,
should.
you know, they have the Pirates in their division. And I don't know if they've had a chance to play the Rockies yet, but everybody's getting healthy against the Rockies.
Yeah. And that's the next homestand for the Rangers, by the way. They get the Rockies for 3 on the next homestand.
Better make some hay there.
And then the Astros. But Rockies for 3 will give you a little bit of a sort of what the doctor ordered. Hopefully they won't need it at that point. Although the next road trip is a tough one. It's in Boston and in Detroit, as we've mentioned, are both teams above 500 at this point. So more coming up. It's our cleanup segment as we get to some fun stories regarding the Rangers and clean up the world of baseball next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast.
John, I don't feel so bad today wearing my DLLS sweatshirt or any kind of sweatshirt because it is chillier today and it's wet out there. So you got to have some coverage. So this hoodie, the hood's going to go up when we walk out because it's still raining. But I am representing 2 of our items at store.allcitynetwork.com. I'm wearing the red shirt that you may see on the screen for the love of Texas, and I'm wearing the one of the 2. We might have 3 hoodies. I'm wearing one of the 2 hoodies I own. That is the City of Dallas flag, which is our DLLS logo. So you go to store.allcitynetwork.com. You look at the variety of shirts, not just Ranger shirts, but Cowboys, Stars, Mavs themed shirts, Wings, TCU, SMU, Baylor, University of Texas, which I'll never buy, but they're great items. And really, as I like to say, they're a unique way for you to show your spirit. You can't get these at the gift shop at AT&T Stadium or Globe Life Field. These are unique items, and people understand who you're rooting for. So go to store.allcitynetwork.com.
Yeah, I was thinking after the show yesterday, I felt bad that we didn't mention when Eric was here yesterday that we have 2 shirts that are an homage to his former partner, one of his great friends of all time, Mark Holtz. Both Hello Win column and It's Baseball Time in Texas are Mark Holtz sayings that have been immortalized there at the ballpark and by Chuck Morgan, but also on our shirts. And look at the skipper's got, he's wearing one right now. This is the Hello Win column shirt that you could get for free.
Keep your face out of it, Skipper.
You could get that for free if, geez, oh, Pete, that skipper's pissed at Jeff now, isn't he? Yeah, you could get that shirt for free if you become a diehard. The deal may be over, but it's still a hell of a deal. So diehard is the thing to do, thing to become. And we ask you to go to alldlls.com/join to become a diehard. So this happened a few days ago, and I forgot to bring it up on one of our cleanup segments. Jeff, did you see the Keith Jones II home run for the Spartanburgers?
I did. That's pretty neat. His dad was in the booth.
His dad was in the booth. And, you know, I wish I didn't jot down the name. The guy made the play-by-play announcer for Spartanburg made a great call, or for Hub City. And but his dad, Keith Jones' dad, Keith Jones, was in the booth. And as soon as he hit it, he goes, "That's gone! That's gone!" And so what a thrill. And it was the first grand slam ever hit by Hub City.
Yeah, Ian Unsworth is their media guy and radio guy. And John Moore and I have dealt with him a little bit and getting to know him for the weekly show. But yeah, that's a cool story. And you know, Keith Jones was a 9th round pick, I think, last year. Left-handed hitter, advanced guy. So he should be having some success here. And really, when you look at that team, he's one of their best hitters. You know, and it's pretty cool. Spoiler alert: we're not trying to get him on This week, we're trying to get on Dylan Dreiling, who's the second-round pick last year from Tennessee. But Keith, I saw him in passing a few times in spring training. Very nice guy. So we'll put him on the list.
Yeah, that's a guy you need to talk to, and if he's got any personality like his dad does, because then, needless to say, I mean, his dad went on, and he's thanking Ian, and he's saying, "You did great. This is great. This is perfect," and understandably, he was up there in the booth being interviewed, as we will do on broadcasts occasionally, and that was a really cool moment. And again, there's going to be a lot of history made at this new Hub City.
Yeah. Reports are it's a great atmosphere, great ballpark. I get that from Chris Young, who went to their opener. The crowd was into the game. The players seemed to feed off of it. And it's going to be hard. Like CY said, it's going to be very hard for right-handed hitters to hit home runs. The park favors left-handers, but not the right-handed hitter. Speaking of the minor leagues, Blaine Krim has just hit a 3-run homer for Round Rock. They're playing up there. Where are they playing? They're playing in Sugar Land right now.
Okay.
So he became the 9th player in Round Rock history with 200 RBI. He's been there too long.
Yes.
So let's go. Let's find a spot for him.
It may be time. And like you say, Boach is finally on board mentioning him, as well as Justin Foscue, which he should too.
Yeah.
But, it may light that fire, that proverbial fire that we said. We all believe Jake Berger's going to hit.
Yeah.
But,
I thought he's had a good last week.
Yeah.
So I think that Jake will be just fine, but somebody else isn't. If you need a DH, Blaine Krim might not be a bad option.
Yep. And speaking of that, we were talking about Jock Peterson earlier. He has been hitting the ball much better. Did at the really the road trip he was hitting better. So now that there's not a lefty on the mound, if he does start, it'll be interesting to see how he does, and if he can continue that. Sometimes it's just that first one, and he got that, and then he had a couple of hits on the Sunday game. So we'll see what happens there. Did you see the Coors, your Colorado company? Well,
yeah, oh yeah,
originally Colorado company, and they had an ad on a right field, one of those banners, that change, the electronic banners that change on the outfield wall. And Shohei Ohtani hit a home run. No, he hit a double off of that wall. And when he did, the light in the corner went out. So it was like there was the white banner that said Coors Light, and maybe even part of the red from Coors was no longer illuminated.
Oh,
right. So there's this it's like a toothless person, right?
Yeah.
There's like this thing, and there's no tooth right here. So, like within 24 hours, Coors made cans that have that little tooth out.
Is that right?
Yeah. And they're selling those now, and I just thought it was a great, and they got Ohtani too, which is gonna. I'm sure that wasn't cheap.
Yeah,
but
probably
again,
not.
They got plenty of money. But,
yeah,
I thought that was awesome. So that's a collector's item. If you're a fan of Shohei Ohtani, you've got to go find yourself one of those Coors Lights that's out there that has the little corner where it says Coors Light. It's blackened because. Shohei hit the scoreboard.
Yeah, no. The third house I lived in growing up was 3 miles from the Coors Brewery,
really,
and downwind from the Coors Brewery.
Actually, in Golden,
it was in Applewood, which is it was a Golden mailing address, but the area was called Applewood. Anyway, downwind, so you could smell the beer, and it's not necessarily a pleasant smell.
I was just about to say that. I've been around. Been around breweries. I'm not sure that's a great smell.
Yeah.
I like beer.
It wasn't every night, but it was a lot of nights.
Yeah.
But right now, our favorite beer here at DLS is Bud Light.
Yeah. We're big fans.
They're helping out the Stars, and
big fans.
We hope they're helping out the Rangers here soon. And
there
when
it
they
is. There, look at that.
When they do,
well done, Prophet.
I'm gonna make for everybody a lunchbox, which is a Bud Light, orange juice, and amaretto.
Okay.
and it's delicious.
It's good, huh?
That's how we're gonna welcome Bud Light to our show.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'll be all over that. And I am absolutely going to. My son is a big Coors Light guy, so I'm going to go try to find a 12-pack of those Coors Lights with the window out or the tooth out, whatever it is. So really good marketing, I thought, on behalf of Coors Light. And look, the reality is, if you can attach your name in any way to Shohei Ohtani, right? I promise you, there's people in Japan who've never heard of Coors Light and are drinking it now, right? Suddenly they're having to go from Golden, Colorado, all the way to Japan because it's a brand.
Yeah,
that Shohei Ohtani.
Get that Sapporo out of there.
Yeah, that's right. Who wants sake? Right? give me a Coors Light. So really cool. Well done, guys. And then we've got some really cool video too of everything Paul Skeens does to me, Jeff, is great. Like he gets it. I mean. We've talked about it, like, even his girlfriend is great, thumbs up. But the reality is this appears to be a super nice, super cool young man. And there's nobody who appreciates that more than the young fella who was playing catch with him during BP. Look at that. Look at that. He's out there. Now watch this. Skeens got multiple balls, so he doesn't need to work.
Well,
so
he
throws this one. Oh, my gosh. Goes over the kid's head. And Skeens like, hang on, I got another one. And look, the kid could probably keep him, but he's playing catch with Paul Skeens from the stands, Jeff.
Kid's a little confused, it looks like. He's got a Marlins shirt and a Cubs hat.
Yeah.
But you know what? God bless him. Who wouldn't, knock over his best friend for this opportunity?
I promise you.
Yeah.
What an awesome. And I will say this: the one that was legit too high. It's a small kid, but he was catching the ball pretty well.
Yeah.
From Paul Skeens.
Yeah, sure.
I think I'd panic a little bit.
Yeah. I wonder what kind of movement it had on it.
Yeah, exactly. So I love that sort of story and that sort of again. It as we've tried to do many, many times since we have the blessing and the opportunity to get to know these people who play the game, it humanizes people. And he's just a guy,
Yeah.
Not that long ago, Skeens was there in the stands.
Right. He grew up in El Toro, which is there's an Air Force base out there. He went to the Air Force Academy. Was a pitcher and a catcher there. I have a scout friend who said that if Paul Skeens had not pitched and had just caught, he would have been a first-round pick.
No kidding.
Great power, obviously a big arm, a big guy, and then moved on to LSU, and LSU said, nope, you're just pitching. So turned out pretty well for him. His girlfriend is the world-famous, very flexible Livy Dunn. Gosh. He's got a lot going for him.
Well, and speaking of the El Toro thing, we had the story a week or so ago on the cleanup segment where it was his first time to go play at the Big A at Angel Stadium, and he was just excited, giddy. He'd watched so many games there, and then he's like, "I grew up a Mike Trout fan," and after he threw a bullpen, he bumps into Mike Trout out on the field, and he's like nervous, like you're Paul Skeens, kid, but. There you go. He's a down-to-earth, real human guy, raised right. Obviously,
obviously,
right. You can just tell kids like that. He was raised right, and he's got lots of personality, and he's got silly talent, and especially if you're telling me he could have been a first-round pick as a catcher.
Yeah. No, that's what the scout buddy of mine said.
Amazing.
Yep.
Amazing. So Rangers tonight. It is Game 3 of a 4-game series against the Oakland Athletics. And again, winning the 4-game series is always a very difficult thing to do, especially, Jeff, when you lose the first one. But the Rangers have done that once already this year. They lost on opening day, and then they won the next 3. So I'm saying there's a chance. I'm absolutely saying there's a chance, especially given what the Rangers have lined up as far as pitching goes. We mentioned Luis Severino tonight for the A's. But Nathan Eovaldi's not a bad counter, Jeff.
I've heard of him.
Yeah.
I think that's a good one. And he's a competitor. We talk about he wants to go do what Jacob deGrom did, and if not, one up him. So this could be a good chance for the bullpen to catch up on rest too. You had the blowout last night. Dane Dunning finished that one off. First career save. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier or not. One of those 9-out saves that you just don't see very much anymore. And then with Malley going tomorrow, if he's able to pitch deep into the game, it's going to be a real good opportunity for the bullpen to get a blow here that they really kind of need.
No doubt about it. And obviously last night deGrom would have gone into the 7th inning at least, were it not for that long offensive inning that the Rangers had. Tonight, there's a chance that Eovaldi will go into the 7th inning. And won't that be nice? I mean, just for a change to see the starters in the 7th, possibly even the 8th inning, Jeff.
Yeah, and, I don't know. I would expect that this is a close game. Again, with Luis Severino throwing for the Athletics, he was okay last time, three runs in 6 innings against the White Sox. So not necessarily the 27 Yankees there, but he's throwing right now 3.49 ERA. So that's pretty good. His whip is low, so he's not giving up a lot of walks. It should be a decent test. Although I say that he did walk 3 in his last start. So maybe this is a chance for the Rangers and this new mindset, or reminded of what they're supposed to be doing. Maybe this is a chance for them to not budge on those pitches that move right off the plate.
Maybe not 9 walks, but we'll take 6. Heck, we'll take 3, 4.
Yeah.
But anyway,
100%.
That's today. We're back tomorrow with a post-game edition of the DLLS Rangers podcast as the Rangers and Athletics play Game 4 of this 4-game set tomorrow afternoon. We're coming on right after the game. Somewhere between 4 and 5 o'clock is when you'll see us tomorrow on the air talking to you, and you'll be back. I'm sure of it by then, and we'll be back for sure. And thanks for checking this one out. We missed you today. We're sorry you weren't in the chat. The internet bugaboo got us. And we will see you again tomorrow for another edition of the DLLS Rangers podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.